CNN is continuing their descent into irrelevance, and they did themselves no favors here by taking time out of the middle of the day to cover the dumbest story ever.
8 years of free room and board is long enough. That is the feeling of an upstate New York couple who's been trying to kick their 30-year-old son, Michael Rotundo, out of their house. As incentive, they gave him money to get started. They even sent him several letters to vacate, but the son says he was not given enough notice. Michael has a young son himself who he lost custody of within the last year. And now these parents have actually gone to the courts. And the verdict is that the judge evicted him. And I had a chance to speak with Michael moments ago. Here's our conversation. Michael, welcome.
Hi.
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 Hi. So let me start with, you're 30.
Right.
The simplest question, do you not want to find your own place?
No.
Why not?
I don't want to live there anymore.
You don't want to live with your parents?
I don't like living with. No. It's not. It's very tense. It's very awkward. It's. We have to. We have to share space, which may be the case with where I would find myself afterwards. But I'd prefer to get out.
Okay, so on the preferring to get out, let's rewind for a second, because it's my understanding you've lived, at your parents' house, rent-free for 8 years, and I know you do your own laundry, you buy your own food, but they asked you 5 times, please move out. Why couldn't you guys resolve this without the court?
I would consider much of what they were doing to try to get me out as a tax, and what I was trying to preserve. Trying to do what's best for me, which is just let's try to be a little more reasonable. I'll leave. I don't like living here, but I need reasonable time. And as an example of this, the first notice that I received, the February 2nd notice, was basically, you have 14 days before you're outside in the winter weather. So the first thing I did when I got that was I made sure that wasn't going to happen. I contacted the police department. I said, is this something that's, that this could happen? And they're like, no, you just call us. That they can't do that. And I said, all right. And I was like, all right. And
Michael, I'm listening to you. I really am. But let me just understand, because I hear you on your parents giving you notices. The fact that you were on national television talking about moving out of your parents' house. You tell me you want to move out of your parents' house. Why don't you just move out of your parents' house, like tomorrow?
I don't have the means to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
do you have a job?
No.
Are you trying to get a job? Because I read that one of the things your parents asked of you, there are jobs available even for those with a poor work history like you. Get one, you have to work. There are a lot of people who have read about your story, and the thought bubble is, what is up with this millennial generation that you guys seem so entitled? What would you say to those critics?
I would say that I'm really not a member of that demographic that they're speaking to, of that group. I'm a very conservative person. The millennials that they're speaking to are very liberal in their ideology.
But you're 30, so technically I think you are part of the millennial generation. I don't think there's a delineation between...
You're right. But when people speak to the millennials and their general nature as a millennial, they speak to more liberal leanings, in my opinion. Do you disagree?
I don't think it's for me to disagree. I think a millennial is a millennial based upon the year that you were born. Okay. But I think it's totally your opinion to say, that doesn't apply to me. And with that, Michael Rotundo, I appreciate you coming on. I truly wish you the best of luck. And
I am a millennial.
Yes, Michael.
Right.
Thanks.
The most trusted name in news, giving you the most important stories of the day. Yes. Look at this asshole. By the way, they certainly know their audience. CNN's average age of the audience, I think, is like 68 or something like that. So they know what they're doing here. Hey, here's a 30-year-old slacker asshole. Now, this is the story where all you guys watching this, are supposed to go, see? Arthur, I told you the generation's so bad. That's a terrible accent. And then Arthur's like, oh, I know. This generation, they're not hard workers like we are. Let me tell you. They should be forced to go get a job. And, man, if only they were hard working, we wouldn't have all these problems in this world we do today. They should be good like President Trump. I mean, we're bombing 8 countries right now. I say that because this is what they're covering in the middle of the day. We're bombing 8 countries right now. We have 900 military bases around the world. I mean, and okay, so foreign policy is not your cup of tea. Well, the richest 6 people in the world have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the world put together. 6 people, more than, almost 4 billion people? How about climate change? How many stories have we covered on climate change that are just like, wow, this needs a hell of a lot more coverage and a hell of a lot more of an onus put on it in the press? I mean, there was a story of, I think it was in Antarctica, where the thermometers started rejecting the data because it got so warm that the thermometers were like, we're not even going to store this because it's got to be an anomaly. There's got to be something off here. There wasn't something off. It was just that fucking warm in Antarctica. So, all these, real serious problems are, our government is totally bought and owned by corporate America and big donors. I mean, we are functionally an oligarchy. There was a Princeton study from a few years back that said we're an oligarchy. All these problems, and they're just covering a douchebag 30-year-old who won't leave his parents' house. I mean, come on, man. You're like a parody. If I were to try to craft a story that would expose CNN for the joke it is to run this story in the middle of the day, this would be the story. I couldn't come up with a story more ridiculous than this that would prove my point about how shitty CNN is. And so the whole idea is they're using this as a way to bash millennials. And they're using this as a way to try to pawn off on millennials all the economic and political problems that we have today. No, it's not that the middle class hasn't had a raise since the 1980s. It's not that all these new jobs that are being created are low-wage jobs and that there's so many people who are underemployed. What they want to do is take one example of one lazy douchebag and say, he is the quintessential millennial. And they're all like that, so the problem is with them individually. It's not with any, broader systemic problems. So, and then I love how that story ended, because CNN took it from millennial bashing, and then this jackass took the ball and ran with it and said, no, I'm actually very conservative. So when people talk about the lazy millennials, what they really mean are the lazy, dumb, liberal millennials. You guys, the overwhelming majority of my audience, probably over 95% of my audience, is young, liberal millennials. How lazy are you? That's my question for you. Are you a living caricature like this guy? No. The overwhelming majority of you have jobs. And unfortunately, many of you are underemployed because we live in a shitty fucking system. But they want to find a way to take a story that's like a joke, but then run it and make all the old people in the audience go, that's it. That's the problem with America today. It's not the 8 wars that we're in, and it's not the $1.5 trillion we just added to the deficit because we gave rich people a tax cut they don't need. It's not the Patriot Act, which has the government spying on everybody. It's not that we're still torturing as a country. It's not that Wall Street runs everything. The real problem is these damn millennials. Goddamn millennials. If we just get a job, everything will be fixed. Thank you, CNN, for feeding into the delusions of your ancient audience.